The studio lights of Loose Women burned hotter than usual that afternoon. Producers had promised a lively debate, but no one, not even the most seasoned crew members, expected the tension that crackled through the air as Jeremy Clarkson settled into his chair opposite Denise Welch. From the very first moment, something felt off. Jeremy leaned back casually, arms crossed, wearing that familiar half-smirk that had irritated audiences for decades. Denise, on the other hand, sat upright, hands folded tightly in her lap, her jaw clenched in a way longtime viewers instantly recognized. This wasn't going to be friendly banter. The host smiled nervously at the camera. Today, we're talking about modern masculinity, cancel culture, and, well, Jeremy Clarkson. A ripple of laughter moved through the audience. Jeremy raised an eyebrow. Ah, so I'm the exhibit. Denise turned toward him slowly. You usually are, Jeremy. The audience laughed again, but this time the sound was sharper, edgier. Jeremy chuckled. See, straight in with the attack. I've been here 30 seconds. Denise didn't smile. She'd read the headlines. Everyone had. Jeremy's recent column, another one, critics said, had sparked outrage for what many felt was dismissive, outdated commentary about women and public accountability. Social media had been on fire for days, and Loose Women producers thought controversy would boost ratings. They were right, but they underestimated Denise Welch. So, Denise said calmly, do you ever stop to think about the impact of your words, or do you just enjoy the chaos? Jeremy tilted his head. I enjoy honesty. Chaos is just a byproduct. Denise's eyes narrowed. That's a convenient excuse. The host quickly jumped in. Let's keep things respectful. No, Denise interrupted, her voice firm but controlled. This is respectful. What isn't respectful is repeatedly dismissing women as too sensitive when they react to harmful narratives. Jeremy laughed lightly. Harmful narratives. Denise, come on. We're adults. If a joke sends you into meltdown, maybe the joke isn't the problem. The studio went silent. Even the camera operators froze. Denise inhaled sharply. There it is. There what? Jeremy asked. That arrogance, she said, turning fully toward him now. The assumption that your perspective is the default, and everyone else is just overreacting. Jeremy leaned forward. Or maybe, just maybe, people are addicted to outrage. A murmur spread through the audience. Some nodded. Others shook their heads. Denise's hands trembled slightly, but her voice grew steadier. Jeremy, you have one of the biggest platforms in the country. When you mock people for speaking up, you're not telling jokes. You're reinforcing silence. Jeremy scoffed. Oh please. I've been cancelled more times than I can count. Yet here I am. That's exactly the point. Denise snapped, finally raising her voice. You're never the one paying the price. The host tried again. Denise, Jeremy, let's. No, Jeremy said sharply. I want to hear this. Apparently, I'm the villain of the week. Denise's face flushed. You make light of it because you've never had to live with the consequences. Women do. Minorities do. Young people watching you do. Jeremy's smirk faded, just slightly. Don't patronize me, he said. I treat everyone equally. Denise laughed, but there was no humor in it. You treat everyone equally badly. Is that the defense now? The audience gasped. Jeremy straightened in his chair. Careful. Or what? Denise shot back. You'll write another column calling me hysterical. The word hung in the air like smoke. The producer's voice crackled urgently through the host's earpiece. We're losing control. Move on. Now. But it was too late. Jeremy stood up. I came here for a discussion, he said coldly, not a lecture dressed up as daytime television. Denise rose as well, matching him eye for eye. And I came here to challenge outdated thinking, not babysit a grown man's ego. The audience erupted, applause clashing with boos. Jeremy shook his head. This show doesn't want conversation. It wants compliance. Denise pointed toward the exit. Then maybe this isn't the place for you. For a split second, no one breathed. Then Jeremy laughed, a short, sharp sound. You know what? He said. You're right. He turned toward the cameras. Enjoy your echo chamber. As he stepped away from the panel, a producer rushed onto the set, whispering urgently. Jeremy didn't slow down. The host stared at the camera, pale. We're going to take a short break. But the damage was done. Backstage, security hovered nervously as Jeremy grabbed his jacket. You can't leave like this, a producer pleaded. We're live. Jeremy turned, eyes blazing. Then maybe next time, you'll invite people for dialogue, not ambush. From the other side of the set, Denise watched silently, her chest rising and falling. She hadn't planned to explode, but she also refused to stay quiet anymore. As Jeremy disappeared down the corridor, one of the crew muttered, "That's it. He's off the show." Denise exhaled slowly. She knew what would come next. Headlines. Backlash. Praise. Hate. But for the first time, she didn't care. Because this time, she hadn't backed down. By the time the studio returned from its commercial break, Jeremy Clarkson was already gone. His chair sat empty, slightly turned, microphone still dangling, like a silent accusation. The host forced a smile, but her hands trembled as she shuffled her cue cards. "Well," she said breathlessly, "that was unexpected." The audience laughed nervously. Across the panel, Denise Welch stared straight ahead, her expression unreadable. The adrenaline that had fueled her words moments earlier now drained away, leaving behind a heavy, sinking silence. Backstage, chaos reigned. Producers argued in hushed but frantic tones. Phones buzzed non-stop. Social media managers stared at screens in horror as hashtags exploded in real time. Hashtag Clarkson vs Welch. Hashtag Loose Women Meltdown. Hashtag Jeremy walks out. One junior producer whispered, "This is trending worldwide." Another replied, "In 5 countries." Jeremy, meanwhile, stood in the car park, jacket slung over his shoulder, phone pressed to his ear. "No," he snapped. "I'm not apologizing for refusing to be shouted down." A pause. "Yes, I know it's daytime TV. That doesn't mean I have to nod like a trained dog." He hung up, jaw tight. Inside the studio, the show limped to the end. Denise barely spoke again. When the cameras finally stopped rolling, she stood up slowly, suddenly feeling the weight of what had just happened. A runner approached her. "Denise, are you okay?" She nodded. "I think so." But her voice betrayed her. The morning after. The next day, Britain woke up to wall-to-wall coverage. Newspapers splashed the story across their front pages. Clarkson storms off loose women. Daytime TV descends into chaos. Denise Welch stands her ground. Clips of the argument looped endlessly online, slowed down, zoomed in, dissected word by word. Commentators took sides with alarming ferocity. One pundit sneered, "This is cancel culture at its worst." Another fired back, "No, this is accountability live on air." Denise sat at her kitchen table, coffee untouched, scrolling through thousands of messages. Some read, "Thank you for saying what needed to be said. You spoke for so many of us." Others were brutal. "You humiliated him. You ruined the show." Overreacting again, Denise. She put the phone down, hands shaking. Across town, Jeremy watched the same clips on mute, a glass of water. Untouched beside him. He didn't look angry now, just tired. His assistant broke the silence. "Loose Women has released a statement." Jeremy sighed. "Let me guess. We value diverse opinions but do not tolerate disrespect." "Yes," she admitted. "And me. They say you were asked not to return." Jeremy laughed bitterly. "So I've been kicked off a show I walked out of. The interview that changed everything." 2 days later, Denise agreed to a radio interview. She hadn't planned to. She wanted the noise to die down. But something gnawed at her, an unfinished thought, a truth she hadn't fully said. The host asked gently, "Do you regret what happened?" Denise paused. "No," she said quietly. "I regret that it had to happen." She explained the years of watching powerful voices dismiss criticism as weakness. The exhaustion of constantly having to justify emotion. The frustration of being labeled angry, simply for refusing to stay silent. "I wasn't trying to kick Jeremy off the show," she said. "I was trying to be heard." That clip went viral too, but this time, the tone shifted. Even some of Jeremy's longtime supporters hesitated. Meanwhile, Jeremy was persuaded, reluctantly, to give his own interview. Sitting opposite a journalist known for sharp questions, he braced himself. "Do you think you crossed a line?" she asked. Jeremy opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time since the incident, he didn't answer immediately. "I think," he said slowly, "that television no longer has room for disagreement unless it's polite enough to be ignored." The journalist leaned in. "Or maybe disagreement doesn't have to mean dismissal." The words landed harder than any insult. An unexpected message. That evening, Denise received an email. The sender made her heart skip. Jeremy Clarkson. She stared at the screen for a long time before opening it. Denise, we clearly don't agree. And I won't pretend I enjoyed being challenged on live television. But I've been thinking about what you said, about consequences. About platforms. I still believe in speaking freely. I just don't know anymore if I always listen freely. I'm not apologizing for my opinions. But perhaps I owe you one for assuming too much. Jeremy. Denise leaned back, stunned. It wasn't an apology. But it wasn't nothing. She typed a reply, deleted it, typed again. Jeremy. I never wanted silence from you. Just awareness. If nothing else, maybe this argument forced both of us, and a lot of viewers, to think. That has to count for something. Denise. She hit send. Epilogue. Weeks later, Loose Women ratings soared, but the panel felt different. Conversations were sharper, more careful, more honest. Jeremy didn't return to the show. But in his next column, readers noticed something unusual. No insults. No dismissive jokes. Just a line buried near the end. Perhaps the loudest voices aren't always the bravest. Sometimes, it's the ones willing to listen. Denise read it once, then twice. And for the first time since that explosive afternoon, she smiled. Not because she'd won, but because something had finally shifted.